It's Friday morning, and this video is going to require a certain amount of history. So bear with me, folks. A long time ago, when I was a new newlywed, my first marriage, I got a job as a lighthouse keeper on Ivory Island. When the missionary from the United Church mission boat Thomas Crosby 5 showed up for their regular visit on the light, it's what they did, I introduced myself as the last living pagan on the coast to Bob Ferris and Oliver Howard, who were the missionaries on the boat. Oliver was also the captain. And from there, things progressed. When my wife, myself, and my daughter left the light, it was to move to the city and get on with our lives the best we could. It turned out in the city that wasn't very good, and I ended up with a job as a deckhand on the Thomas Crosby 5. And that experience of working under Oliver Howard, the Reverend Captain Oliver Howard was his official title, made me want to be a Christian. Because there was a man who has gone to his reward in heaven now, if there is a heaven, who was living it at great cost to himself, but he was living the faith. And he inspired me, and I inspired him, I suppose, somewhat. And I became the first intended candidate for the ministry from the Thomas Crosby 5, which was actually a church as well as a mission boat, which led me to become a student at Simon Fraser University, because I needed to finish my bachelor's degree before I could start working on my Master of Divinity. And while I was at Simon Fraser, the United Church of Canada created a new program with the natives in northern BC called the Native Ministry Consortium, which is morphed into something else now. And the idea was that they would take people from the villages, they would train them through extension courses and summer school, and on-the-job experience in the village to be a village minister. A great theory. The only problem was they didn't have anybody that was academically qualified to enter the program. Which meant that as much as the church may or may not have liked the idea, they turned to me. I did not turn to them, they turned to me. And they said, "Brian, we have an offer for you. You have worked on the Crosby, you have been a lighthouse keeper, and we would like you to become an intended candidate for the ministry in Kitimat Village," and I will name the village this time, and if things work right, you will be involved in a program where you will be trained in village for 10 months of the year, and at the Vancouver School of Theology in the summer to take academic courses. You will, at the end of it all, become a fully ordained minister in the United Church of Canada, qualified to work in Native communities. That was the theory. And I thought about it for about a second because I hated the city. I said, "Oh yeah, okay, no doubt about it, let's go." The village was asked about it, and the deciding vote was given by Marjorie Shaw. Again, I'm going to name names this time. who mistook me for Robin, the engineer. Now, Robin, the engineer, was a good man. He played the flute and the guitar, and he sang, and in his own way, he was a good, devout Christian that got along with the people on the coast, and he thought, boy, we could use him because he'd be good for the choir. So without actually seeing me, they said yes to the idea. Well, when I got there, Marge realized the mistake she'd made, but by then it was too late, and I was in the village. And the terrible thing about that, the really sad thing for Marge, is that I neither play the flute, the guitar, nor sing. So it really wasn't much good for the choir. But in any case, it went on. And the village took a look at me and watched me and examined me. And one day, through no fault of the village, the United Church decided I was untrainable because the supervisors that were in a town beside us, who had never worked in an Indian village, knew nothing about Indian ways, and hadn't got a clue what I was going through, decided I was untrainable because I wouldn't do things their way, which I knew to be the wrong way. So the church was going to pull it out, and the village said, no, you're not. We're going to train Brian. We like what we see. He's trainable, he's teachable, and he wants to learn. We'll teach him. You leave him here. And the village said, okay. Or the United Church said, yes, we will. We'll leave him there. And they trained me. They mentored me. They taught me some, not all. I wasn't there long enough to get it all. I was only there for almost 5 years, and they had a long story and history. But they took me in and taught me their ways as best they could, and as best I could, I learned them. Now that's the history. So far, move ahead a few years, I'm out of there, I'm in the Philippines. I looked the village back up on the web, and some of the young people remember the old guy that used to be there. So we get along until they start to get involved in this gas line stuff. And I'm trying to tell them, time and again, you don't want to do this. This is natural gas, it's bad, bad for the environment, and tried to lay it out. But by this time, the village had turned into a small town. It had gotten so colonized, so westernized, that when really bad snow falls, the people of the snow had to leave the village because they were no longer capable of living where they had for thousands of years. If the power went off, they would have frozen. They no longer were capable of being the people of the snow. And they weren't capable because that wasn't where their mindset was. They were looking to find full-time, nicely paying, with a pension at the end of it, jobs. They turned white, to put it bluntly. And they got mad at me for pointing out to them that this had happened. And they declared they would take my name away, and if I ever came to the village, I'd get such a thumping up and down my head. But I left, shut it down, said I'll stay out of that. But now is the time when all good men, to borrow a phrase from somebody or other, I think the Queen of England, Queen Elizabeth, must stand with us. Those who are here will say, we were here, and those who aren't are going to say, we wish we were. Or is that from Braveheart? I don't know. But it's time, folks, because the pipeline that is going to carry liquefied natural gas to the world from Canada is approaching completion. It has doubled in cost in billions of dollars. All 20 First Nations that it goes through have agreed to it, except, and here I draw a caveat, there are some freedom fighters in the Wet'suwet'en who have decided that in their own way they follow the old ways, and pipelines and natural gas and global warming don't fit the old ways. So they're taking a stand. It's not going to work, but they are freedom fighters, and I salute them. I take my hat off and I bow to them. Because the rest of the First Nations, some of which who are going to get a nice percentage of the profits, all of which people will work on the pipeline and feed their families from it and da-da-da-da-da-da, have all sold out. They don't give a damn about the environment. This includes Kitimat Village, the one that trained me. If Kitimat had joined with the freedom fighters of the Wet'suwet'en and said, it ain't going through our territory, there would have been no place to get this gas to the natural gas freighters, boats out there. There would have been no pipeline to the coast because it wouldn't have been able to reach the coast. But Kitimat said, oh, we need the jobs. We want the paychecks. We want to be white. We want the toys. Now that's how it is, folks. So much for the belief that natives are inherently good for the environment. It is in their blood, their very DNA, to be one with nature. Bullshit. No more than anybody else. A native person is only going to be the person he was raised or she was raised to be. And I won't blame the residential schools for this, although it's part of it. Nor will I blame the churches. I'm going to put the blame solely where it lies. With the very first native that traded with the very first trader for a knife and a trap, which meant that he could now break out of the boundaries of his traditional culture and get greedy like a white man, only solely for himself or herself. And that has continued to the present day, to the extent that as much as we are going through a world on fire with wildfires, a world that has got massive droughts all around it, 20-year drought in southwestern USA. There are thousands of houses in California that have been destroyed in the latest round of wildfires. The outskirts of London were on fire because of the heat wave. Europe has rivers drying up. Africa is entering starvation mode for many countries. The Arctic is melting. The Antarctic is melting. The glaciers are going. Canada, bless their little souls, and the natives in northern BC have all proudly beat their chests, declaring, we will stop global warming, it's bad, we love the environment, and they build the damn pipeline. They rip out of the earth the tar sands in Athabasca and pipe that down to the States. This is the world's filthiest carbon-based fuel. It destroys the lungs of the world by taking up the boreal forest. They ship this new natural gas link to the coast from the interior of BC so that they can make a profit, and they declare, oh, it's natural gas, it's clean. Bullshit. Natural gas is carbon-based, and when you include the leaks from the pipeline, when you include the production costs, when you include the cost of building the pipeline, when you look at the carbon footprint of the whole operation, it's hard to tell any difference between it and coal. There's the fact, folks, and look it up. So I call bullshit on the First Nations that declare in northern BC, we love the environment, we are the people that know how to look after the earth. You only do it unless you can make a profit doing something else. And that's what's happened in my village where I was adopted and named, and through faith, they have betrayed their heritage and their ancestors. And every other First Nation along that pipeline route has done the same bloody thing. As I say, hats off to the Wet'suwet'en that are making a stand. But I don't see it happening anywhere else with those 20 First Nations. Certainly not in Kitimat Village. Those that tried to raise their voices were shut down, shut out, and ostracized. They were accused of being in league with the devil, aka Brian Waddington. And they weren't. They were just wise enough to remember the old ways and make their own stand. So folks, we got to stop this. Already, the Anthropocene, I think I'm pronouncing that wrong, but look, it's the environment caused by humans, the new epoch, the new eon, the new age. We've created it, and we're living in it. And if we do not turn the pipelines off, turn the gas lines off, turn the oil off, find other ways to have a life on this planet, there will be no life on this planet as we know it. That's just the way it is. Take a look at the science. Yes, I know we don't care about intelligence. We're in the Dumb and Dumber generation time of humanity. Somehow it's become the norm that we wish to be ignorant, stupid brutes who follow people like Trump and Boris Johnson and Pierre Elliott Trudeau's son, Justin. We follow them to our doom. And we do it willingly because we like the toys. Well, folks, it's time to get over that idea. And I mean now. I don't mean next week, next month, next year. I mean now. It is time. Because if we don't, the highway to hell is here, and it's getting wider and steeper, and we're going faster every minute. We cannot continue the way we are if we wish to maintain our world. This is just the start, folks. It won't be the outskirts alone of London that burn in a year or two. It'll be London. It won't be just the southwest of the states and the people in the desert that have a problem. It will be all of us, because the southwestern states produce a hell of a lot of food. And that's not going to get to your table. Or if it does get to the tables where you are, it probably won't be yours because you won't have the damn money to buy it because it's going to be that expensive. As Stephen Colbert said in his monologue, hey, this new jackpot thing has reached $1 billion. Think what you could do with that money if you want it. You could buy a mansion. You could buy beautiful cars. You could buy 1 tank of gasoline. It's going up, folks. Nowhere but up unless we turn the tap off. Now. It really is. I have just broken a 10-year vow to myself not to get involved with this crap anymore because it makes no difference, but I can't keep that vow because it's gotten that bad. I know this isn't going to do any good for the most part, but if I can change 1 or 2 minds and they can change 1 or 2 minds, then what the hell? We might still stand a chance. Because if we don't, if people like me and you and your neighbor and your cousin and your uncle and your friend and your enemies don't make this change, we all gonna die together in a heat wave and a drought and a famine. The very worst parts of the apocalyptic parts of the Bible are going to come true, and it won't take a prophet of God to show you how. It's just going to be a natural fact of life. We change or we die. Your choice. Sadly, your choice will affect mine, but that's the way it is. I can't do it alone. None of us can. We've got to come together. We've got to organize. We've got to become a power for the ultimate change and do it real quick, folks. Because if we don't, only the rich are going to have a good time. And even those aren't going to be having a great time. Think about it. Do something about it. Time for a change, folks. And with God, any luck at all, and the gods be willing, I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.